if you ask me, one of the most obvious and starkest differences that we've seen since the change of government at the start of July is the approach that's been taken to industrial action and to trade unions more broadly. Since Labour came to power, they have already offered junior doctors and train drivers far bigger pay rises than the Tories were offering. They have immediately scrapped plans the Tories were putting in place to force unions to provide a minimum standard or a minimum level of service on days where strikes were taking place. They are planning, we read, to make it easier for strikes to happen by reducing the threshold at which members need to vote for strikes. And what you've seen following all of that, in the last few days in particular, is a real upping of the sort of anti-union and anti-Labour rhetoric from some of the right-wing newspapers. Let me give you a few headlines. Daily Mail, for example. Labour accused of being under the thumb of trade union paymasters as more than half of Keir Starmer's MPs took donations totalling 1.8 million. The Daily Telegraph. Labour to make it easier for unions to strike. The Mail on Sunday. As Labour paymasters threaten more strikes, Starmer accused of treating the taxpayer like a cash machine and dragging the UK back to the dire days of the 70s. And then you get to the Times today, in fact, and you read this headline: empowering unions will stifle growth. Businesses warn Keir Starmer. And it's not just the right-wing newspapers, Tory leadership candidates and the Conservatives among those, very much levelling the accusation that Keir Starmer is somehow in hock to his paymasters, that word again, the trade unions in this country. James Cleverly, one of those accusing Labour of having been played by its union paymasters. He's not alone in making that charge. Really interested in your thoughts on whether you think it's fair, whether you do worry that Labour is giving the unions too much and going too far in sort of bending over backwards to alleviate their concerns and pretty rapidly change the law in ways that favour unions and union members. Because you could say that this is no different to any other lobby group or industry body giving lots of money to one particular party and then a few weeks later getting lots of changes in the law that favour those organisations and their members. And if that was a group not representing working people, but, I don't know, bankers or property developers or whoever it might be, we might be up in arms about it. Is it different because it's normal working people that are being fought for here? Or is it actually just another sign of another government kowtowing, basically, to a vested interest? Because unions are vested interests. There's no denying that. You can argue, I think, rightly, that there are instances where what the union wants or what the union is demanding is not necessarily in keeping with what is good for the country. There's a story today, for example, about one rail union demanding that its members get 38 days paid leave every year, while most people get 28. That's 2 weeks less. So I don't think that's in the interest of the public. But I do think it's different. I do think this charge of unions somehow being this sort of public enemy number one is a bit tiresome. And I do think perhaps this is actually a sign of Labour taking a bit more of a stand alongside working people rather than just big business and employers. So I wonder if it worries you and troubles you as much as it seems to be troubling the likes of the Daily Mail and the Telegraph and Tory MPs, or are you pleased to see a government not sort of standing up to the unions, facing them down and claiming they are a threat to this, that and the other, but actually working with them and saying, do you know what? We care about you, we care about your members, we are willing to compromise and engage with you. Charlie, good to have you with us this afternoon. Thank you for your time. Where are you on this? Do you think there is a risk that Labour is going too far to give the unions what they want? Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Rob. Undoubtedly, unions are going to ruin this country. You rightly said they're already in bed with Labour. I think they've actually given them over 150 mil since 2010. The Labour are going to back the strikes. They're going to have more and more people out of work. It's going to get unrealistic, and this is probably going to be the biggest blow for employment law that they want to bring in the next 100 days. It's going to be absolutely disastrous. We don't need unions today. It's not like years ago when you had to demand rights, etc. Most work places are pretty fair and look after their workers today. But the unions, believe me, are going to destroy it. They're going to absolutely destroy business, destroy the economy, and probably do it within 100 days. And they're talking about bringing in these workers' rights.
Charlie, come on. We don't need unions. People are working longer than ever. They're having expected to work more and more outside work hours. Wages are flatlined for the best part of a decade. Don't we need unions more than we have for a long, long time?
Not at all. They're troublemakers. You don't need them in the workplace. I've never had them. I run a successful business for 41 years. Wouldn't have nothing to do with them, and never have done, never will do. All they're interested in is causing strikes, causing problems, and they make out they're trying to get better for everyone. The only people that are gaining out of this are unions. I mean,
but
honestly, Rob,
Charlie, come on. When you say the only people benefiting are unions, you mean the union members, don't you? Because that's who they're fighting for.
No, not the union members, because eventually they're going to be losing their jobs. They're going to Look, I'm telling you now, Rob. I'm telling you what I'm saying.
Ben, by the way. But if the junior doctors, so the junior doctors, they're getting a pay rise that's, if they accept it, that's larger than the Tories are offering. So if they accept their pay rise, then in time there will be no more junior doctors in this country.
No, I never said that. I'm talking about train strikers and general other people, council workers, that they're trying to get them the right. Of course, junior doctors deserve more money.
But we need council workers.
Well, you know, the sort of civil servants and all the people that anywhere where there's a union involved, you know, you can't necessarily say it's better for the worker. It's not better for the business. And if the business is not working properly, the worker's going to suffer.
But isn't having a happy, rested, satisfied, motivated workforce, that is good for the business, isn't it?
Of course it is, but it doesn't work like that. I mean, have you run a business, Rob? And I'm not being funny. Have you run a business?
I've never run a business.
Okay, well, that's why you're talking like that, because, you know, anybody that runs a business...
But I've worked for a lot of businesses, and I can tell you that when people are exhausted, when they don't feel well rewarded, when they don't feel well paid, when they aren't treated well, then it's not... I don't think that is in the interest of the employer.
Well, yeah, when you say that, but that's for them to take... That's the employer's fault who is not, you know, looking after his workers. I mean, that's got nothing to do with unions. I mean, if you're being underpaid or you're not being treated correctly, then that's something you have to take up with your company or move on to another company. But, you know, unions getting involved with the rail strikes and the doctor strikes and everybody be strike. We will be going back to a 3-day a week, and many, many people, I believe, will lose their jobs because of the way unions conduct themselves. Labour are all for money away, and not for working class people.